David Cutcliffe, the special assistant to the SEC commissioner, but you might also know him as one of the best quarterback coaches of all time, one of the best men of all time in the coaching profession. Just a fantastic individual. David, thanks for taking the time.
Thanks, Dave. You know, you and I do this pretty well together. We have a little experience, right?
We do. We did a show for a year together back in the day, and it was, I can honestly say, some of my funnest times in radio.
It was really a recovery for me after coming off open heart surgery, getting fired in coaching. You guys were my support base. Seriously, you were my team. Yeah. I had no team suddenly for the first time in decades after decades, and so I appreciate that, and I should say that more often publicly. Thank you.
Well, and thank you. I felt like I learned so much more of your all's perspective, a coach's perspective, and I think it probably brought a little bit more empathy to both of us in terms of what each other are going through, and that was a particularly tough time too that we don't necessarily need to get into with Tennessee, but there are no tough times right now at Tennessee football. Did you like that transition there?
Yeah, that was really good, and I'm really happy for the people, the fans, the great, incredible fans of the University of Tennessee, and they're living some good moments right now. It's not an accident either. Coach Heupel impressed me. I went down and watched him practice when he was at Central Florida. Mm-hmm. And his spring practice was extremely impressive. And I knew in my heart there that, okay, this was a special coach, an extremely special coach. And then I had experience of playing against him as a player. We played Oklahoma in the Independence Bowl when he was the quarterback, mentored by the late Mike Leach. And so Josh Heupel got a great start as a player, who he was mentored by, certainly his dad being a coach. But he's no accident, and he's no flash in the pan. He got a good one.
I think they certainly do. I'm curious, some of the rule changes, in particular the benefit RPO and that sort of thing. If you're a 28-year-old David Cutcliffe coming into coaching, or 24-year-old, 22, whatever, would you have the same philosophy that you had throughout your career, or would it be altered by the fact that the game is a bit different?
Well, you have to be altered.
Okay.
I mean, I have a son coaching actively right now, and so we talk offensive football. We talk a lot, and we were using RPOs, of course, at Duke, but you have to take advantage of everything that you learn. And then all that said, if you will watch the Josh Heupels of the world, you can still take care of football. Mm-hmm. There are certain things that won't change. There are certain things that have to change. The field's getting smaller. And the reason it's getting smaller is the defenses are so much bigger and faster than when I came on the scene. So you have to utilize the width of the field, which they do exceptionally well in Tennessee offense, but you also have to use the vertical parts of the field, which they do exceptionally well. They know the kind of player they want to put together, but when your passing game is both vertical and horizontal, you know what else you can do pretty good? Run the football.
That's right. And you always placed a big emphasis on that. I think that gets lost because you were such a great quarterback coach. And it kind of gets lost with Josh Heupel's offense, too, because they are so – but both of you guys were predicated on running the football.
No question. And one of the reasons we were successful was using the width in what we call the quick game. Mm-hmm. We were so good at using – we made people defend the flats of the field. Okay? Because they were getting bigger and faster then. What I didn't do as good a job of as I should have. We did okay in this, but you also have to make people deepen and defend vertically. And I think he's done a terrific job of that. But we did a lot of at the line stuff. The best way you can train a quarterback is ultimately he should be able to call the game. He should know everything you know And then everything he knows as the functional part, and now you got some magic. So, I would often tell the guy on the sideline, just point at Peyton. He'll know what that means. I'm not down there on the field, and he can get somebody set and look at them and then call a play. Wouldn't that be nice for coach if you could see every defense they were going to be in before it came out of their mouth? People don't realize what a play clock does. As soon as the tackle's made, something is coming out of your mouth. You've got to have a play call based on down and distance with hash mark, area of the field, score of the game, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That all has to be communicated to the sideline to the field. That's why no huddle has been helpful. But when you can just predicate all that, I have this guy so well trained, he's going to call what I would call once he's seen.
It's pretty strong. What have you learned? Because you said you knew quite a bit about Josh Heupel beforehand from visiting him at UCF and from coaching against him when he was a player. So you knew a lot. You knew what he was going to roll out there. But what have you learned in the past 365 days since I last spoke to you about him maybe as a game day coach, about him as a coach? What have you learned most recently about him?
I think there is, when I watch him now, I get to go obviously more often to practice and hear him and have conversations with him. It's not an accident that they're going to be good on defense and in the kicking game. He understands the game. Mm-hmm. I have young people ask me all the time, how do I become a head coach? I said, why don't you try to become the best football coach on your staff? Meaning offense, defense, kicking. Coach Heupel is a really all-around, really good football coach. The other thing I think he does is he reads his team and the people around him really well. Maybe that's the quarterback. I don't know. He gets a sense of what a team needs and how they're going to respond. I was over there, I guess it was last August, their preseason practices. He hit them with a surprise, basically, night off. I've never heard an eruption like I heard from that team, but he knew that team and coaches had hit maybe a zero return or a negative return on time. That can happen. That's a sixth sense that the great ones have to have. So, there's more to it than just saying line up and have a scheme and call a play. You got to build a program, and I certainly believe he's doing that at Tennessee.
How much does that coincide with when you were there in the 90s at Tennessee? There was a closeness, there was a bond. There might even be a book coming out about that. But there seems to be, and I think it's legitimate, both on and off the record, people I talk to, there's a closeness and a bond. How important is that, especially in this day and age of transfer portal, NIL, that sort of thing?
That's the program, though. And it starts with genuine relationships. I've told this to so many young coaches getting into the business. You better understand there's no bigger fool on earth than one that thinks they can fool a young person. You better care and you better be genuine. With that becomes a respect between not only coaches and players and players and coaches, but the same thing's true with coaches and players to players. If that's the culture that you can grow, and that's what I'm seeing and what I'm referring to about caring. And if you can grow that culture, Coach Saban today called it a mindset. Mm-hmm. And it is that, but I've used the term culture. I still write about culture and how you can develop it and what you have to do on a consistent basis. And as I go watch all of these programs in the Southeastern Conference more closely than I've ever been able to, that's one of the things I look for.
T. Martin had to sit and wait. He had to sit an extra year that he didn't think he was probably going to have to wait. Joe Milton had to sit last year, and it would have been even easier for him to transfer than it would have been for T. What do you think that says about his character? And if you were to give him any advice stepping into that role now, what would it be?
Well, I said it to him. I've already told him personally. I don't get involved with coaching players or saying too much to any player. But when I saw him, I complimented him. I said, Joe, it tells me about everything I need to know about you that you stay in this environment and era of college football. I commend you for that. It'll pay dividends. Persistence and perseverance are great traits, and take advantage of it. And I would tell him the same thing now as you play. It's not going to be easy, okay? And everybody talks about the big arm. I don't care what everybody talks about. I want Joe to focus on two things: being the best teammate on the team. When a quarterback is the best teammate on the team, you've got something. You're not trying to make plays. You're trying to put other people in a position to make plays. You are truly appreciating what your kicking game and your defense are doing for you to set you up. Be a great teammate. And then the other thing he can't forget, we all chose to play this game because we thought it was fun to play. It's got to stay fun to play. And if you start worrying about your statistics or you start focusing on what people think about you, that's no fun. It's like, you remember being the first time when you're young, and maybe it's middle school, you start to become aware of your physical looks or what other people think about you. You didn't think about that as a kid. It's a tough time in your life. Don't do that as a quarterback. It's fun. Be a great teammate. Focus on your teammates, not yourself, and focus on, when you do that, you can have fun. Focus on this great game is fun, and the rest of it will take care of itself.
When we spoke with Hendon Hooker this week, and we talked about the occasional overthrows that he had as he was getting used to Josh Heupel's offense, and he shared something that I hadn't heard before. He said it wasn't necessarily accuracy issues. It was chemistry and being on the same page of his receiver issues, that he was throwing the ball to a spot and either he or the receiver wasn't reading the right defense. And I'm curious, as a guy who knows so much about football, can you tell the difference between an errant throw or maybe not on the same page when you're watching?
Yeah, usually if I'm studying film, I'm looking at the quarterback's lower body for overthrows, not his release. The lower body is going to dictate a bunch of that. Your footwork, your base, your finish with the lower body. What he's talking about happens. It happens in the NFL. It's happened to some of my guys at times with coaching changes in the NFL, when receivers aren't ready when you're ready, and receivers are too early or short, and what I would tell Joe is, don't talk about that. Your job, starter or backup, and I use this term as Peyton Manning. When I see it on the practice field where they're not on the same page, all I've ever had to yell since Peyton is Peyton Manning. That means that quarterback better sprint down there, that receiver. I'm not worried about games and what I'm seeing at games. I'm worried about what I'm seeing at practice. Practice makes permanent. A lot of people used to say, perfect practice makes perfect. Practice doesn't make perfect. Well, neither one of them do. Practice makes permanent. So don't be surprised in the game mode, Joe, if that's happening, that you haven't done well enough in the communication aspect of it as a player. You follow what I'm saying?
Sure.
Attack that problem on the practice field.
So let me leave you with this, and I'll let you go. I appreciate your time. From what you've seen in practice and in games, do you think Joe Milton is an accurate passer?
Yeah, he gets the ball where he wants it to go. I think anybody with that kind of arm dynamic has to work on throwing the ball with their fingers. He's so strong. you throw a football no different than you hit a baseball with your fingers. It's not your arm, it's not your hand. You throw a football with your fingers. And so that's the whole thing you focus on is what do you shoot a basketball with? Your fingers.
I could talk to you 5 days about this, but Chuck Down Life's going to kill me. I appreciate
We'll
it.
visit again.
We'll do it.
You.
I appreciate
it.
David Cutcliffe right there.